Hello and welcome back to the Pittsburgh Play-by-Play, the show where we go over the state of Pittsburgh sports. I'm your host, Michael Vito, alongside my co-host, Andrew Hance. And today we're going to go over the Steelers' offseason, the Pirates' hot start and cool down, and the Penguins' tragic end to a fun stretch at the end of the season. We are once again joined by Caleb Trice.
Thanks for having me.
And we're also joined today by Nate Kabenko.
Appreciate the opportunity, fellas.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. You guys are both pretty avid Pittsburgh sports fans, so they're going to share their ideas with us today. We'll just get right into it. Start out with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Just finishing up the NFL draft last week. Went really offensive line heavy, but obviously, filling other voids as well, getting Roman Wilson from Michigan to, fill in at wide receiver. Big offseason this year for Pittsburgh. First-round exit last year. Where do you go from here? Getting Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. Just generally, where do you guys think we go from here after the draft?
So I think having Justin Fields and Russell Wilson, it's a big upgrade from our quarterback room last year.
Yeah.
Getting them for the price that we did, that's really big for us because we can sign a bunch more players like we did.
Because didn't we get them cheaper than our whole quarterback room like last year?
Yeah, those two they're cheaper than all three we had last year.
Yeah, Russ is getting paid mostly from Denver still. Steelers only got him for about $1.5 million, so they got him for really cheap.
We literally got him for like the vet minimum, which is like crazy.
And having Fields behind Russell Wilson, he can learn a thing or two before it's his turn.
Yeah.
I know on our first episode, we talked about if we thought Kenny Pickett was going to be the guy we said he would, and obviously we were dead wrong there. He was shipped off to Philadelphia. Other major signings, Pittsburgh, improving their linebacking core, getting Patrick Queen from the Ravens, an interdivision signing, big signing. Getting that defense some more help, linebacker core. Not very strong. I mean, you have Quan Alexander as from last year, but it's pretty much it there. How do you guys think Patrick Queen's going to impact that defense?
Yeah, getting younger guys like that to help our defense is definitely a big improvement because the middle linebacker, it's kind of been a weak point.
Yeah.
I think a guy like Patrick Queen he's going to really help our game.
And it's not like we need to teach him anything or he proved himself in Baltimore and has been doing that for a while. Was really good there. I mean, I think it'll fit great with the Steelers, but like you said, that was a major weak point in the defense.
Yeah, I think he's definitely gonna help out the defense. And Steelers got the receiver, the O-line, the two new quarterbacks, so all offensive, and then so it's good that they can get a defensive player.
Yeah, and back to the wide receiver point, trading Deontay Johnson to Carolina. I know he was a very hit-or-miss wide receiver, definitely for the good stretch of his career so far in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh did sign Cordell Patterson from Atlanta, wide receiver, running back. So he's going to add a lot of speed there, going to be a return man for the Steelers, I'd imagine. Also helps out with not making Najee Harris or Jalen Warren, that's a good 1-2 punch already, but now adding a third guy in like Patterson, that's, in my opinion, a great signing. And getting Von Jefferson and Quez Watkins at wide receiver to add a little more depth. I know they don't really have a star yet. You do have George Pickens, who's in his second year?
Third
year now. But he's going to have to show up. He's going to be the wide receiver one now for, at least the next year or two. So didn't really go out and sign anybody huge, any really huge offensive playmakers other than obviously Russell Wilson. But I think the Steelers, let's just have a little prediction for the next season, why don't we?
I think Pickens having a veteran quarterback throwing the ball. I think he'll start to come around. Maybe Russ can show him how to control his attitude a little bit.
Yeah, I agree there.
That was the major issue last year.
I think he'll start to come around and be a star player.
Yeah.
I agree.
I understand the frustrations from Pickens, obviously. Kenny wasn't a great quarterback here, let's be honest. But, obviously you watch film of Pickens, he makes these unbelievable catches. He's a really good route runner. But when he doesn't get the ball, obviously that's when there starts to get,
Gets in
have
his
some
own head.
issues. He gets in his own head. Yeah,
Starts
that's
getting
a
mad.
big thing is he gets in his own head. So I think having, like you said, having Russell Wilson, having that veteran presence there, a quarterback who's a Super Bowl champion as well, will definitely, help him out. You don't want another Antonio Brown on the team.
No, we don't.
No.
So, all right, I think that'll do it for the Steelers. So we're gonna move on to the Pittsburgh Pirates. Had a great start. Now sitting at 14-17, 3 games under 500. 2 brutal losses to the Oakland Athletics at the time we were filming this. Offense has been dead recently. I can't even remember the last time we scored more than 2 runs in a game. It's been at least a week. Connor Joe's been good. He's been hitting well. Brian Reynolds has been hitting well, but that's because it's Brian Reynolds. He's our best player. And I keep Ryan Hayes as well, but some guys like Hayes, he can barely get the ball over the infield half the time. The strong point right now for the Pirates has been their pitching, has been their starting pitching, has been something that even in the offseason that they have thought was going to be the weak point this year has so far been pretty much the only strong point they've had. Rookie Jared Jones has been off to a fantastic start. His record is 2-3, but if Jared Jones can eliminate the home run ball, he's going to be a great pitcher for years to come. Bailey Falter had an okay outing against Oakland. Obviously, he's been doing pretty well. Mitch Keller, the supposed ace, hasn't been doing terrific to start the season, but I think it all started last year with the after the All-Star break. He kind of fell off. Boys, the Pirates started out hot. They definitely cooled down. What do you guys think they do from here? Where do you guys think they finish?
Yeah, I think that with a young guy like Paul Skeens pitching real good down in the minor leagues, I think he can really help out the Pirates a lot when he comes up. We already have a bunch of good guys in the rotation, but he'll definitely help make it more complete. And I think with the hitting, there's a couple of guys doing good, but I think it's kind of just need another guy to step up, a couple more guys start hitting the ball. I think it'll get us going.
I think a big problem for the Pirates offense, not only is their hitting coach, but they don't have a guy who's a proven 300 hitter or 30-plus home run hitter. Brian Reynolds, who is our best player, would probably only be a best player on 2 or 3 other teams in the league. So, you look at our lineup and you think it's not terrible, but then you watch games and they don't play like they should. You don't hit well. Really, you're just falling apart out there. So I do think that the Pirates will get some help whenever Paul Skeens is brought up. He's been absolutely dealing in the minors. He only has 1 earned run across, I think, 6 or 7 starts. So he's doing fantastic down there. He's pitched a solid 30-plus innings. But that's going to be about it for the Pirates. They're, not too much to talk about, not a lot. Not a lot of fun to talk about either. It's just when you think of the Pirates in terms of Pittsburgh sports, you think of losing. So
yeah. I mean, and I just don't really get why they don't bring him up. I know they wanted to get him in games longer and have him play more, but when you're losing this much, you come up from such a good hot start and then you just bomb it. Mm-hmm. It's you kind of how do you not realize that you need some extra help?
Yeah, you definitely need something to shake everything up.
Yeah. Just a change.
Get the energy going.
Yeah, because when you're losing games, especially to a team like the Athletics, they're barely getting fans in the stands. I mean, they have the same record right now as the Pirates. They're moving from Oakland. They're not trying to win. They're not being competitive. Their best, I looked, and their best hitter in terms of batting average is batting less than 230. That's horrendous. So, it's just the pitching hasn't been terrible this series either. It's just the offense cannot put any runs on the board. Hitting with runners in scoring position has been awful. But other than that, Pirates not really too much fun to talk about. So we're going to move on here to the Penguins, our final segment. the Penguins, season ended pretty tragically, missing the playoffs by just 3 points. The second straight season that they missed the playoffs for the first time since 05 and 06. Obviously, in that position, mostly in part to Sidney Crosby, carrying the Penguins through the regular season like he always does. But, he had, I think, 94 points this year. As a 36-year-old, he's unreal. Carried the team. They went 8-2-2 in their final 12 games. I know had a big regulation loss against Boston and a big overtime loss against Toronto that, looking back at it now, definitely kept us out of the playoffs. But I think you do have a little bit to look forward to for this team in terms of where you stand for next year. Really huge news at the trade deadline was getting rid of forward Jake Gensel. Got a couple prospects, a few picks, and a guy who was playing really well for the Penguins down the stretch, Michael Bunting. So with that Gensel trade, obviously shaking up the core, the Pens didn't play very well immediately after it, but they did find their footing late in the season. Guys, where do you think we go as a team from here?
So with the trade, I obviously Gensel was a fan favorite. Everyone liked him. He was playing well, and right after the trade, like you said, Pens really weren't doing much. But then eventually, I like Michael Bunting. I think he really picked it up. He started playing real well towards the end. But yeah, I was sad at first. I really didn't think it was a good trade. But then, till now, I think it was an all right trade. Although I am sad Gensel's gone.
Yeah.
The Penguins did receive a conditional first-round pick. It is only a first-rounder if Carolina will make the Stanley Cup final. If they do not make the final, it will be a second-round pick. And there's also a conditional, I believe it was a fifth-round pick, that if Carolina wins the final, Pittsburgh will get it. If they don't win the final, they don't get a pick at all. So, the conditions in that trade are a little weird. Obviously, not something I've really seen before. But, Michael Bunting's impact has been huge, especially, in that late stretch. He was playing fantastic. Another thing that, was a big question mark, especially late in the season, was the goaltending. It was, do you ride with Alex Nedeljkovic, who was playing lights out at the moment, or do you go back to your starter in Tristan Jarry, who wasn't really playing much like a starter at the end of the year? He's playing more like a backup, honestly. And you have him for a few more years at $5.5 million, and in terms of next year, do you go back to Nedeljkovic or do you stay with Jarry? You're paying him all this money and you don't want him to be a backup. So, Caleb, what do you think we do here?
Yeah, I think for now, I say stick with Nedeljkovic, and if Nedeljkovic starts playing not good, whatever, and maybe can try Jarry, see if hopefully he can pick it up and play better than he was.
Yeah, I think you obviously want to stick with the hot hand. You got to ride the hot hand. If someone's playing well, you don't take them out. But, like I said, Jarry is the starter. He's making all this money. Nedeljkovic is making
you want to get
less.
your money's worth of him.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly. And Nedeljkovic is making way less. You definitely got your money's worth out of Alex Nedeljkovic so far this year. Probably someone that the Penguins are going to be interested in re-signing. But in terms of Pittsburgh sports, I think that about does it for the second and final episode, at least for this year, of the Pittsburgh Play-by-Play. We want to thank Caleb and Nate for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
And thanks again for providing us with some insightful information. We appreciate you guys for being on here. We hope everybody has a great summer, and we hopefully will see you next fall.